The forgotten frontier. In the vast expanse of the Milky Way, countless civilizations rose and fell, their stories etched into the cosmic tapestry. Yet, in a small corner of the galaxy, a gentle race known as the Excelari faced extinction, their cries for help echoing unheard through the cold vacuum of space. The Excelari, with their iridescent skin and gossamer-like appendages, had once been a thriving civilization. Their homeworld, Xelara, was a jewel of bioluminescent forests and crystal-clear oceans. But now, as the merciless rock armada approached their system, the Xelari's days seemed numbered. In the grand halls of the Galactic Conclave, representatives from 1,000 worlds debated the fate of this doomed species. The Arthropians, insectoid beings of cold logic, argued that the Xelari's primitive technology made them unworthy of salvation. The Zenith, a race of energy beings, deemed intervention too costly. Even the Mycelians, usually sympathetic to organic life forms, remained silent. The Xelari contribute nothing to our galactic economy, buzzed Zix9, the Arthropian delegate. Their extinction, while regrettable, is the natural order of things. As voices of indifference filled the chamber, a lone figure stood. Admiral Ilara Chen, Earth's representative, gazed at the assembled aliens with steely determination. "Have we become so callous?" she asked, her voice cutting through the murmurs. "Are we to stand idly by while an entire species is wiped out?" The chamber fell silent, all eyes turning to the humanity, the newcomers to the galactic stage, had been observing these proceedings for months. Their inclusion in the conclave was a gesture of goodwill, but few expected them to speak, let alone challenge the consensus. The Xelari may not have advanced technology or vast resources, Ilara continued, but they are sentient beings with a rich culture and a right to exist. If we turn our backs on them, what does that say about us as a galactic community? The Zenith representative, a swirling mass of purple energy, pulsed with agitation. "Human, you are new to these matters. The galaxy is vast and resources are finite. We cannot save every species that fails to defend itself." Ilara's eyes narrowed. "Then perhaps it's time for a change. Earth will not stand idle. We will help the Xelari." The chamber erupted in a cacophony of protests and warnings. The humans were young, inexperienced, they argued. They didn't understand the complexities of galactic politics. The Vrok were a formidable enemy, not to be trifled with. But Ilara stood firm. As she left the chamber, her communicator buzzed. It was a direct link to the United Earth government. "Admiral Chen," came the voice of President Saito, "we've been monitoring the situation. Are you certain about this course of action?" Ilara took a deep breath. "Madam President, if we don't stand for something, we'll fall for anything. The Xelari need us, and this is our chance to show the galaxy what humanity stands for." There was a pause, then a chuckle. "Well said, Admiral. You have the full support of Earth. Make us proud." As Ilara made her way to the Earth Embassy, her mind raced with plans. The Vrok were notorious for their brutality, their massive fleets capable of reducing entire planets to ash. Earth's space force, while advanced, was tiny in comparison. They would need every ounce of human ingenuity and determination to stand a chance. Meanwhile, on Xelara, the Xelari huddled in their bioluminescent caves, their once vibrant cities abandoned. Lurel, a young Xelari scientist, gazed at the night sky through a primitive telescope. The Vrok fleet was visible now, a cluster of dark shapes blotting out the stars. "Elder Zorin," Lurel called, her voice trembling. "They're getting closer. What hope do we have?" The old Xelari, his skin dimmed with age, placed a comforting tendril on Lurel's shoulder. "Hope, young one, often comes from unexpected places. Our ancestors spoke of a prophecy, of star travelers who would come in our darkest hour. Perhaps." His words were cut short by a brilliant flash in the sky. For a moment, Lurel feared the Vrok had begun their assault, but as she adjusted her telescope, she gasped. A sleek vessel, unlike anything she had seen before, was engaging the Vrok scouts. Across the galaxy in the Earth Embassy, Ilara watched the same scene unfold on a holographic display. The ECS Defiant, an advanced stealth frigate, had arrived at Solara ahead of the main Earth fleet, its mission to buy time and gather intelligence. Captain Reyes, Ilara spoke into the comm status report. The gruff voice of the Defiant's captain crackled through. "Admiral, we've engaged the Vrok scouts. Their tech is advanced, but we're holding our own. The main fleet hasn't noticed us yet." Ilara nodded, though Reyes couldn't see her. "Good work, Captain. Hold position, but don't take unnecessary risks. The main fleet will be there soon." As she ended the transmission, Ilara turned to her team. The Earth Embassy had transformed into a makeshift command center, with holographic displays showing fleet movements and tactical analyses. "All right, people," she addressed the assembled officers, "we're about to do something unprecedented. We're not just fighting for the Xylari, we're fighting for the soul of the galaxy. The Conclave may have written them off, but we'll show them what it means to stand up for what's right." A young lieutenant raised her hand. "Admiral, the odds, they're not in our favor. The Vrok outnumber us significantly." Ilara smiled. "Lieutenant, throughout human history, we faced unfavorable odds, from crossing vast oceans in wooden ships to landing on the moon with less computing power than a modern toaster. But we persevered. We innovated. We surprised everyone, including ourselves. That's what we're going to do here." The room filled with determined nods and murmurs of agreement. Humanity was about to make its mark on the galaxy, not through conquest or economic might, but through compassion and unwavering resolve. As the Earth fleet prepared to depart, news of their decision spread across the galaxy. Many dismissed it as human foolishness, a young species overestimating its capabilities. Others watched with curiosity, wondering if these newcomers might actually achieve the impossible. On Solara, as the first human ships appeared in the sky, a wave of hope swept through the Xylari. Lurael, watching from her observatory, felt a surge of emotion she couldn't quite name. For the first time in months, the bioluminescent patterns on her skin glowed brightly. Elder Zorin, standing beside her, whispered in awe, "The Star Travelers, they've come." The stage was set. Humanity was about to face its greatest challenge, not just for their own survival, but for the very idea of what a galactic civilization should stand for. The battle for Xylara was about to begin, and with it, a new chapter in the history of the galaxy, against all odds. The news of Earth's decision to defend Solara spread through the galaxy like wildfire. In the grand halls of the Galactic Conclave, heated debates raged. Some members argued for sanctions against Earth for their reckless intervention, while others watched with a mix of curiosity and trepidation. Meanwhile, on Earth, the atmosphere was electric. Shipyards worked around the clock, retrofitting civilian vessels for combat and accelerating the production of warships. In laboratories across the planet, scientists and engineers pushed the boundaries of technology, knowing that every innovation could tip the scales in the coming conflict. Dr. Aisha Patel, head of Earth's Advanced Propulsion Laboratory, stood before a holographic display of a new engine design. The quantum fold drive, she explained to a group of wide-eyed engineers. It'll allow our ships to make micro-jumps in real-time combat situations. The Vrok won't know what hit them. Across the globe, in the sprawling adaptive armor facility, Dr. Chen Wei supervised a final tests of a revolutionary defense system. The mimetic polyalloy can react to energy weapons in nanoseconds, he said, watching as a test plate morphed to deflect a high-powered laser. It learns and adapts with each hit. But it wasn't just military technology that was advancing at breakneck speed. Earth's best diplomats and cultural experts worked tirelessly to understand the Xylari better. They pored over the limited data available, determined to bridge the gap between two vastly different species. Admiral Ilara Chen, now overseeing the entire operation from the newly christened warship ECS Humanity's Hope, received constant updates from Earth. As she reviewed the latest reports, her XO, Commander Talon, approached with a concerned look. "Admiral," Talon began, "the Vrook fleet has increased in size. Latest intel suggests they have called in reinforcements from 3 sectors." Ilara's face remained impassive, but her mind raced. The odds, already stacked against them, had just gotten worse. "They're taking us seriously," she mused. "Good. Underestimating humanity has been the downfall of many throughout our history." She turned to the bridge crew, their faces a mix of determination and anxiety. "Send word to Earth. We need every ship we can muster. And contact the Zelari. It's time we coordinated our efforts directly." As the human fleet grew in size and capability, the first diplomatic mission to Solara was underway. Dr. Lyra Novak, Earth's foremost xenanthropologist, led a small team to the bioluminescent world. As their shuttle descended through Solara's pearlescent atmosphere, Lyra's heart raced with excitement and trepidation. The landing site was a clearing in one of Solara's glowing forests. As the shuttle's doors opened, Lyra and her team were greeted by a group of Solari, their tendrils waving in a hypnotic pattern. At the forefront stood Elder Zorin and Lurael. Lyra stepped forward, her translator device at the ready. "Greetings," she said, her words converted into the melodic tones of the Solari language. "We come in peace and friendship." Elder Zorin's skin pulsed with warm colors. "Welcome, star travelers," he responded. "Your arrival brings hope to our people." As the two groups began to interact, Lurael found herself drawn to the humans' technology. She watched in fascination as they set up communication arrays and sensor equipment. Noticing her interest, Lyra approached the young Solari. "You seem curious about our devices," Lyra said warmly. Lurael's skin shimmered with excitement. "They're incredible," she replied. "We've always looked to the stars, dreaming of such wonders. But the Vrook, they made us fear what lay beyond our world." Lyra's expression softened. "The universe can be a dangerous place," she admitted, "but it's also full of beauty and potential. That's why we're here, to ensure you have the chance to explore it yourselves one day." As the diplomatic mission progressed, humans and Solari worked side by side. The Solari's intimate knowledge of their world proved invaluable as the humans set up defensive positions and early warning systems. In return, the humans shared their technology, teaching the Solari to operate simple defense turrets and communication equipment. Back in space, the combined human fleet had assembled near Solara's outermost moon. Ships of all sizes and configurations formed a protective barrier around the planet. At the center of the formation, the ECS Humanity's Hope stood as a beacon of determination. Admiral Chen surveyed the fleet from the bridge, her chest swelling with pride at the sight. Vessels that had once been cargo haulers now bristled with weaponry. Sleek warships, their hulls gleaming with the latest adaptive armor, moved into strategic positions. Even civilian science vessels had joined the fight, their advanced sensors providing crucial tactical data. "Fleet status?" Ilara asked, her voice calm despite the tension in the air. Commander Talon consulted his holographic display. "All ships report ready, Admiral. The quantum fold drives have been installed on our frontline vessels, and all crews have run combat simulations." Ilara nodded, then opened a channel to the entire fleet. "This is Admiral Chen. In a few hours, we will face an enemy that has terrorized this sector for centuries. They believe us to be insignificant, a young species meddling in affairs beyond our understanding." She paused, letting her words sink in. "But they don't know humanity. They don't know our history, our resilience, our unwavering spirit in the face of adversity." Across the fleet, crews listened intently, drawing strength from her words. "We're not just fighting for ourselves, or even just for the Solari," Ilara continued. "We're fighting for an ideal, a galaxy where the strong don't prey on the weak, where diversity is celebrated, not eradicated. Each of you volunteered for this mission knowing the risks. You chose to stand up for what's right, even when the rest of the galaxy turned away." Her voice swelled with emotion. "Whatever happens in the coming battle, know this: Your courage, your sacrifice, will echo through the ages. You are the best of humanity, and I am honored to serve alongside you. Together, we will show the galaxy what it truly means to be human." As Ilara's speech concluded, a thunderous cheer erupted across the comm channels. On every ship, humans stood a little taller, their resolve strengthened. But the moment of unity was short-lived. Alarms blared across the fleet as massive energy signatures appeared at the edge of the system. The Vrok Armada had arrived, their ships blotting out the stars as they advanced towards Selara. On the bridge of humanity's hope, Ilara's eyes narrowed as she took in the tactical display. The Vrok fleet outnumbered them 3-1, their massive dreadnoughts leading the charge. "Battle stations," she commanded, her voice steady. "Activate all defense systems and prepare for combat. Let's show them what humanity can do." As both fleets moved into position, an eerie silence fell over the battlefield. For a brief moment, the vastness of space seemed to hold its breath. Then, with a blinding flash of energy weapons, the battle for Selara began. Human ingenuity was about to be put to the ultimate test. Against overwhelming odds, they would fight not just for survival, but for the very soul of the galaxy. The next few hours would determine the fate of the Selari and perhaps the future of interstellar cooperation. The battle for New Hope. The void of space erupted into a dazzling display of destruction as the human fleet engaged the Vrok Armada. Energy beams crisscrossed the battlefield, while swarms of missiles left fiery trails in their wake. The initial clash was chaotic, with both sides testing each other's defenses. Aboard the ECS Humanity's Hope, Admiral Ilara Chen watched the tactical display with unwavering focus. The Vrok's superior numbers were evident, their massive dreadnoughts pushing forward relentlessly. "Status report," Ilara commanded, her voice calm amidst the storm of battle. Commander Talon's fingers danced over his console. "Our adaptive armor is holding, Admiral. The Vrok energy weapons are less effective with each volley. However, we're outnumbered in every sector." Ilara nodded, her mind racing through strategies. "It's time to show them what we can do. Signal the Phantom Squadron to engage their quantum fold drives." Across the battlefield, a group of sleek, dark vessels shimmered and vanished. Moments later, they reappeared behind the Vrok's front lines, unleashing a barrage of fire on the enemy's unprotected flanks. The Vrok fleet, caught off guard by this impossible maneuver, scrambled to respond. "Quantum fold successful, Admiral," Talon reported, a hint of excitement in his voice. "The Vrok rear guard is in disarray." Ilara allowed herself a small smile. "Excellent. Have all ships equipped with the QF drive begin micro-jump tactics. Keep the Vrok guessing." As the battle raged on, the human fleet's unconventional tactics began to level the playing field. Ships would disappear and reappear across the battlefield, striking vulnerable points before vanishing again. The Vrok's numerical advantage was offset by their inability to predict where the next attack would come from. But the Vrok were not easily defeated. Their central dreadnought, a behemoth of a ship that dwarfed even the largest human vessels, began to power up its main cannon. The energy readings were off the charts. "All ships, evasive maneuvers," Ilara shouted. "That cannon has enough power to tear through our entire fleet." As the human ships scattered, the Vrok dreadnought fired. A beam of blinding energy cut through space, narrowly missing the bulk of the human fleet, but vaporizing 3 ships caught in its path. The loss of those ships sent a shockwave through the human forces. For a moment, doubt began to creep in, but Ilara's voice rang out across all channels. "Stand firm. We knew this wouldn't be easy. But remember why we're here. Remember that Selari. Remember Earth. We are humanity's best hope, and we will not falter." Her words rallied the fleet. Ships regrouped, pressing the attack with renewed vigor. The battle became a deadly dance of advanced technology and human determination. Meanwhile, on Solara's surface, Lurael and Dr. Lyra Novak worked feverishly at a makeshift command center. They had been monitoring the battle, relaying crucial information to the fleet about Vrock tactics and weaknesses. "Look at this energy signature," Lurel said, her tendrils waving excitedly. "The Vrock dreadnought's main cannon. It takes nearly 15 minutes to recharge after firing." Lura's eyes widened. "That's our window. If we can coordinate a massive strike during that downtime." She quickly relayed the information to the fleet. Back in space, Ilara received the transmission. A plan began to form in her mind. "All ships, this is Admiral Chen. We have a 15-minute window after the dreadnought fires. Prepare for Operation Spearhead." As if on cue, the Vrock dreadnought's cannon flared to life once more. This time, the human fleet was prepared. Ships scattered in pre-planned patterns, minimizing casualties. The moment the devastating beam dissipated, Ilara gave the order. "Operation Spearhead, commence." The entire human fleet seemed to vanish at once, their quantum fold drives activating in perfect synchronization. When they reappeared, they had formed a massive, three-dimensional spear formation, with the humanity's hope at its tip, all concentrated on the Vrock dreadnought. "All ships, fire everything you've got," Ilara commanded. The space around the Vrock dreadnought lit up as thousands of weapons discharged simultaneously. Missiles, energy beams, and exotic particle weapons converged on the massive ship. Its shields, formidable as they were, couldn't withstand such a concentrated assault. Explosions blossomed across the dreadnought's hull. Secondary detonations followed as internal systems overloaded. The once mighty vessel began to break apart, its destruction visible across the entire battlefield. A cheer went up across the human fleet. The seemingly invincible flagship of the Vrock Armada had fallen, but Ilara knew the battle was far from over. "Press the advantage," she ordered. "Don't let them regroup." The human ships surged forward, their earlier caution replaced by calculated aggression. The Vrock, shaken by the loss of their flagship, began to falter. Their formation, once impenetrable, now showed gaps that the human forces exploited mercilessly. On Selara, Lurel watched the tactical display with a mixture of awe and hope. "They're winning," she whispered, hardly daring to believe it. Lura placed a hand on Lurel's shoulder. "It's not over yet, but yes, they're turning the tide." As the battle progressed, the innovative tactics of the human fleet continued to give them an edge. Ships working in pairs would use their quantum fold drives to blink in and out of existence, confusing Vrock targeting systems. The adaptive armor learned and evolved with each hit, becoming increasingly resistant to Vrock weapons. But the Vrock were not going down without a fight. As their main fleet weakened, they launched swarms of smaller, agile craft. These fighters darted between the larger ships, causing havoc and disrupting formations. Drone swarms detected, Commander Talon reported. They're targeting our engines and weapon systems. Ilara's mind raced. They hadn't anticipated this tactic. Divert point defense systems to... Wait, an idea struck her. "Contact Dr. Potel on Earth. I need to know if we can repurpose our sensor arrays." Minutes ticked by as the fleet struggled to fend off the swarms. Then Dr. Potel's voice came through, excited despite the situation. "Admiral, it's possible. We can create a resonance field that should disrupt their control signals. Sending the specifications now." "Implement immediately," Ilara ordered. Soon, invisible waves began emanating from the human ships. The effect on the Vrock swarms was immediate. Drones began to spin out of control, crashing into each other or drifting aimlessly in space. With the swarms neutralized, the human fleet pressed its advantage. Ship after ship in the Vrock Armada fell to the combined might of Earth's forces. What had started as a desperate defense had turned into a decisive victory. Hours into the battle, the remaining Vrock ships began to retreat. At first, Ilara couldn't believe what she was seeing. Then, as the reality set in, she opened a channel to the entire fleet. "This is Admiral Chen. The Vrock are in retreat. I repeat, the Vrock are retreating. All ships, hold position and stand down from general quarters. We've done it. Solara is safe. A moment of stunned silence was followed by an eruption of cheers and celebrations across the fleet. On Solara's surface, the Elari emerged from their shelters, their bioluminescent patterns pulsing with joy as they looked to the sky. As the adrenaline of battle faded, the true cost became clear. Many human ships had been lost, their brave crews making the ultimate sacrifice. The survivors began the solemn task of searching for escape pods and survivors among the wreckage. Aboard the Humanity's Hope, Ilara stood at the viewport, gazing at the planet they had fought so hard to protect. Commander Talon approached, his uniform singed and torn. "Admiral," he said softly, "we're receiving transmissions from across the galaxy. News of our victory is spreading fast." Ilara nodded, her expression a mix of pride and sorrow. "Make sure everyone knows. This victory belongs to every human who stood up for what's right, whether they were here in the fleet or supporting us from Earth." As the human fleet regrouped and tended to their wounded, the true impact of their actions was only beginning to ripple across the galaxy. They had done more than save a single species. They had challenged the very foundations of galactic politics. The battle for Solara was over, but a new chapter in human history, and indeed galactic history, was just beginning. The eyes of 1,000 worlds now turned towards Earth, wondering what these brave, unpredictable newcomers would do next. Echoes of humanity. In the days following the Battle of Solara, the galaxy buzzed with activity. News of humanity's unexpected victory spread like wildfire, reaching even the farthest corners of known space. The galactic conclave, once dismissive of Earth's efforts, now found itself in a state of shock and uncertainty. On Solara, the scene was one of both celebration and sullen reflection. The Galari emerged from their hiding places, their bioluminescent patterns pulsing with a mixture of joy and disbelief. They gathered in great numbers around the human encampments, eager to meet the beings who had risked everything to save them. Admiral Ilara Chen stood atop a small hill, watching as humans and Solari interacted. Medical teams treated the injured of both species, while engineers worked side by side to repair damaged infrastructure. It was a scene of cooperation that would have been unimaginable just weeks ago. Dr. Lyra Novak approached, her eyes alight with excitement. "Admiral, you need to see this," she said, gesturing towards a nearby clearing. As they walked, Lyra explained that Solari have been sharing their cultural history with us. "It's fascinating. They have this ritual called the Lumina Accord that they perform when forging new alliances." They reached the clearing to find a group of Solari, their tendrils intertwined, surrounded by a circle of humans. In the center stood Elder Zorin and Captain Reyes of the ECS Defiant. Elder Zorin's voice, translated through the humans' devices, rang out clear and melodious. "For eons we looked to the stars, hoping for friends but finding only enemies. You, children of Earth, have shown us that hope is not foolish, but compassion can exist even in the vastness of space." As he spoke, the Solari began to glow, their bioluminescence intensifying until the clearing was bathed in a soft, pulsating light. Captain Reyes, looking somewhat awkward but deeply moved, extended his hand. Elder Zorin wrapped a tendril around it, and a spark of light passed between them. "With this Lumina Accord," Elder Zorin continued, "we bind our fates together. May the light of friendship guide us through the darkest of times." Ilara watched the ceremony with a mix of awe and pride. This was why they had fought so hard, not just to save lives, but to forge connections, to prove that different species could come together in peace and mutual respect. As the ceremony concluded, Ilara's communicator buzzed. It was a priority message from Earth. President Soto's holographic image appeared, her expression a mix of pride and concern. "Admiral Chen, congratulations on your victory. The people of Earth are calling you and your fleet heroes." The president paused, her tone becoming more serious. "However, we face a new challenge. The Galactic Conclave has called an emergency session. They're demanding explanations, and some are even calling for sanctions against Earth for our unsanctioned military action. Ilara's jaw tightened. "With all due respect, Madame President, we did what was right. The conclave had their chance to act, and they chose to do nothing." President Saito nodded. "I agree. That's why I'm appointing you as Earth's representative for this session. You've earned the right to speak for humanity on this matter. Your shuttle leaves in an hour. Good luck, Admiral." As the hologram faded, Ilara turned to Dr. Novak. "Lara, I need you to come with me. Your expertise on Solari culture will be crucial." Hours later, Ilara found herself standing before the galactic conclave. The massive chamber, with its tiered seating for hundreds of alien species, was intimidating. But Ilara stood tall, her uniform pristine, her gaze unwavering. The Arthropian representative, Zix9, was the first to speak. "Humans," he buzzed, mandibles clicking in agitation, "you have disrupted the delicate balance of our galaxy. Your actions, while perhaps well-intentioned, have set a dangerous precedent." Murmurs of agreement rippled through the chamber. The Zenith representative, its energy form pulsing with barely contained anger, added, "You defied the will of this conclave. There must be consequences." Ilara took a deep breath, then stepped forward. "Esteemed members of the conclave," she began, her voice steady and clear, "I stand before you not to apologize, but to challenge you. For too long, this body has hidden behind bureaucracy and self-interest, while innocent species suffer." She gestured towards Dr. Novak, who activated a holographic display. Images of Solara, its beautiful landscapes, and unique inhabitants filled the air. But Solari are not just statistics in a report. They are a vibrant, peaceful species with a rich culture and a unique perspective on the universe. By saving them, we have preserved an invaluable part of our galactic tapestry. Ilara's voice grew stronger, filled with conviction. But more than that, we have shown that there is another way. A way where the strong protect the weak, where diversity is celebrated rather than exploited. She turned, addressing the entire chamber. "Yes, humanity is young. Yes, we make mistakes. But we also possess an undying spirit, a relentless drive to improve, to explore, to connect. We don't accept the status quo when it's unjust, we act." The chamber had fallen silent, all eyes fixed on the human admiral. "We didn't come here to disrupt your order," Ilara continued. "We came to enhance it, to remind you of the ideals upon which this conclave was supposedly founded: peace, cooperation, the betterment of all sentient life." She paused, letting her words sink in. "The galaxy is changing. The Solari are free, and other oppressed species are watching. They're beginning to hope, to dream of a better future. You can either embrace this change, work with us to create a more just galaxy, or you can cling to your old ways and be left behind." As Ilara concluded her speech, the chamber erupted into a cacophony of voices. Some aliens shouted in anger, others in support. The conclave leaders struggled to maintain order. In the midst of the chaos, a small, unassuming alien stepped forward. It was a mycelium, a fungal species known for their wisdom and neutrality. Perhaps, the mycelium said, its soft voice somehow cutting through the noise, "We should listen to these humans. They have shown us something we had forgotten: the power of compassion, of standing up for one's principles regardless of the cost." Gradually, the shouting died down. The conclave members began to debate in earnest, not just about humanity's actions, but about the very nature of their galactic society. As the session stretched on, it became clear that a seismic shift was occurring in galactic politics. Some species, inspired by Earth's actions, began to speak out about injustices they had long ignored. Others, fearful of change, clung even more tightly to the old ways. When Ilara finally left the chamber, she was exhausted but satisfied. Earth hadn't been sanctioned. Instead, a committee had been formed to reassess the conclave's policies on intervention and the protection of vulnerable species. As she boarded her shuttle back to Solara, Ilara received another call from President Seto. "Well done, Admiral," the president said, smiling. "You've given humanity a voice in the galaxy, but be prepared, this is just the beginning. We're going to face challenges we've never imagined." Ilara nodded, her mind already racing with the possibilities and dangers that lay ahead. Humanity had taken its first real steps onto the galactic stage, and there was no going back. As the shuttle broke orbit, Ilara gazed out at the star-filled expanse. The galaxy was vast and full of wonders, but also dangers. Yet for the first time, she felt that humanity was truly ready to face whatever awaited them among the stars. The echoes of their actions at Solara would ripple across the cosmos, inspiring some, frightening others. But one thing was certain, the galaxy would never be the same again. The uprising. In the months following the Battle of Solara and Earth's dramatic stand at the Galactic Conclave, a wave of change swept across the galaxy. The ripples of humanity's actions had become a tsunami, upending centuries of established order and igniting hope in the hearts of countless oppressed species. On a distant world called Novu Prime, a gathering unlike any other in galactic history was taking place. Representatives from dozens of species that had long suffered under the indifference or outright hostility of the galaxy's dominant powers had come together. Among them were the Xylari, their luminescent forms a testament to their newfound confidence. Admiral Ilara Chen stood at the center of this assembly, her presence a symbol of Earth's commitment to a new galactic order. Beside her stood Lurail, now serving as its Xylari ambassador, and Dr. Lyra Novak, whose expertise had proven invaluable in bridging cultural gaps. "Friends," Ilara began, her voice carrying across the diverse gathering, "we stand at a crossroads. For too long, the galaxy has been ruled by fear, by the idea that might makes right, but Earth's stand at Solara proved that there is another way." Murmurs of agreement rippled through the crowd. Species that had once cowered in the shadows now stood tall, emboldened by the example set by humanity. A reptilian being, scales shimmering with iridescent patterns, stepped forward. "The Saurians have long been exploited for our mineral-rich worlds," it hissed. "We stand with Earth and the Xylari. It is time for change." One by one, representatives came forward, each sharing tales of oppression and expressing their desire for a new galactic order. The Aryans, gaseous entities confined to restrictive environmental suits, spoke of planets denied to them. The crystallines, silicon-based life forms, recounted centuries of being treated as mere resources rather than sentient beings. As Ilara listened, she felt the weight of responsibility settling on her shoulders. Earth had sparked this movement, and now they had to see it through. "What you propose," came a melodious voice, "is nothing short of revolution." The speaker was Zenla, a member of the enigmatic Luminae, a species long thought to be myth. Their presence alone sent shockwaves through the assembly. Ilara met Zenla's gaze, which seemed to shimmer with starlight. "Revolution, evolution, call it what you will. The galaxy is changing, with or without us. I believe it's our duty to ensure that change is for the better." As discussions continued, the outline of a new alliance began to take shape. It would be a coalition of species committed to mutual defense, cultural exchange, and the promotion of galactic democracy. Earth, with its demonstrated willingness to stand up to oppressors, would play a central role. But even as hope flourished on Novu Prime, dark clouds were gathering. The Vrok, humiliated by their defeat at Solara, had not been idle. Reports trickled in of increased Vrok activity across multiple sectors. They were rebuilding their fleet, forging alliances with other militant species, and vowing revenge. In a secure communication chamber, Ilara received a holographic transmission from Earth. President Saito's face appeared, her expression grave. "Admiral, our intelligence suggests the Vrok are planning something big. They're calling it the Crimson Tide, a massive offensive aimed at crushing this new alliance before it can fully form." Ilara's jaw tightened. "How much time do we have?" "Weeks, maybe a month," Saito replied. "We're mobilizing everything we can, but we'll need help. The Vrok have united several aggressive species under their banner. This could be the largest conflict the galaxy has seen in millennia. As the transmission ended, Ilara turned to find Lurael and Lyra waiting. The concern on their faces told her they had overheard. "We stand with you," Lurael said, her tendrils pulsing with determined light. "The Tselari will not forget what humanity did for us." Lyra nodded in agreement. "Every species here owes Earth a debt. They'll fight." Ilara took a deep breath, squaring her shoulders. "Then we'd better get to work. We have an alliance to forge and a war to prepare for." The next few weeks were a whirlwind of activity. On Novu Prime, the alliance took shape with astounding speed. Species that had long distrusted each other now worked side by side, pooling resources and sharing technology. The Saurians offered their expertise in mineral extraction and processing, crucial for building and maintaining a fleet. The Aryans, with their unique understanding of gaseous anomalies, provided invaluable navigational data. The crystallines shared their advanced energy manipulation techniques, leading to significant weapons advancements. Earth's shipyards worked around the clock, churning out new vessels and retrofitting old ones. The quantum fold drive, now enhanced with insights from multiple species, was being installed on ships across the Alliance fleet. Dr. Aisha Patel, the mind behind the original QF drive, found herself working with a diverse team of alien scientists. Together, they pushed the boundaries of what was thought possible, creating hybrid technologies that combined the best aspects of multiple civilizations. "It's incredible," Aisha marveled during a rare break. "Advances that might have taken us decades are happening in weeks. The synergy between species, it's like the galaxy itself wants us to succeed." But for every step forward the Alliance took, the shadows of the coming conflict loomed larger. Intelligence reports painted a grim picture. The Vrok had assembled a massive armada, incorporating the brutal tactics of species like the Ravagers and the hive mind efficiency of the Swarm Collective. As the deadline approached, Ilara called a meeting of the Alliance's key leaders. Representatives from 24 species gathered in a war room on Novi Prime, their faces grim but determined. "The Vrok and their allies will strike soon," Ilara began, activating a holographic display of known enemy positions. "They aim to crush us in one decisive blow, but they've underestimated us before, and they're doing it again." She turned to the assembly, her eyes blazing with determination. "They think we're weak because we choose compassion over cruelty, cooperation over domination. They're wrong. Our diversity, our ability to work together despite our differences, that's our strength." A holographic map of the galaxy appeared, with key strategic points highlighted. "We've identified their likely targets. We'll meet them head-on, but we'll also strike at their supply lines, their comm relays. This won't be just a battle of brute force, it'll be a test of adaptability, of innovation." As the meeting progressed, a battle plan took shape. It was audacious, relying on the unique strengths of each species in the Alliance. The Luminae, with their mastery of light-based technologies, would lead stealth operations. The Tselari's bioluminescent abilities would be weaponized into a sophisticated comm system resistant to enemy jamming. Earth's fleet, now bolstered by ships and technology from across the Alliance, would form the backbone of their main battle groups. But unlike the rigid formations favored by the Vrok, these groups would be fluid, adaptable, ready to switch tactics on a moment's notice. As the meeting concluded, a palpable sense of anticipation filled the room. They were about to face the greatest challenge in the history of their respective species. The fate of the galaxy hung in the balance. Ilara stood at the center of it all, the weight of countless worlds on her shoulders. She thought back to that first battle at Solara, how impossible victory had seemed then. Now, they faced even greater odds. But as she looked around at the diverse beings surrounding her, each bringing their own strengths and perspectives, she felt a surge of hope. "We are the uprising," she declared, her voice ringing with conviction. "Not just against the Vrok, but against every force in this galaxy that seeks to oppress, to dominate, to stamp out diversity." Whatever happens in the coming battle, we've already changed the course of history. A cheer went up, a cacophony of voices, roars, and other sounds of agreement from the assembled species. As they dispersed to make final preparations, Ilara turned to gaze out at the stars. The galaxy was about to erupt into a conflict unlike any it had seen before. But from this conflict, a new order would emerge, one built on the principles of cooperation, mutual respect, and the indomitable spirit that humanity had brought to the stars. The Vrok and their allies were coming, but the uprising was ready. The final battle for the soul of the galaxy was about to begin. A new dawn. The galaxy held its breath as two massive fleets faced each other across the void of space. On one side, the Vrok Armada loomed, a dark cloud of aggression and tyranny. Their ships, bristling with weapons, formed an intimidating wall of destruction. Alongside them were the forces of their allies, the hive-like swarms of the Collective, the brutal warships of the Ravagers, and a host of other species driven by fear or the promise of conquest. Opposing them was the most diverse fleet the galaxy had ever seen. Ships of all shapes and sizes, representing dozens of species, moved in fluid formations. At the heart of this alliance fleet was the ECS Humanity's Hope, now modified with technology from across the galaxy. Admiral Ilara Chen stood on its bridge, her eyes fixed on the tactical display. "All ships report ready, Admiral," Commander Talon announced, his voice steady despite the tension. Ilara nodded, then opened a channel to the entire fleet. "This is Admiral Chen. We stand at the precipice of a new era. Behind us lie countless worlds, countless beings who have put their trust in us. Before us, an enemy that seeks to crush that trust, to return the galaxy to an age of oppression and fear." She paused, letting her words sink in. "But they have underestimated us. They see our diversity as weakness, our compassion as frailty. They are wrong. In our differences, we find strength. In our unity, we find purpose." Across the fleet, beings of all species listened, drawing courage from her words. "Remember why we fight," Ilara continued. "Not for glory, not for conquest, but for a future where all sentient beings can live free from tyranny. A future where the wonders of the cosmos are shared, not hoarded. A future worthy of the sacrifices that have brought us to this moment." Her voice swelled with emotion. "Whatever happens here today, know that you are part of something greater than yourselves. You are the dawn of a new age. Now, let's show the galaxy what we can do when we stand together." A thunderous cheer erupted across all channels as the Alliance fleet surged forward. The battle had begun. The initial clash was catastrophic. Energy beams crisscrossed space, while swarms of fighters engaged in deadly dogfights. The Vrok pressed their numerical advantage, attempting to overwhelm the Alliance with sheer firepower. But the Alliance fleet moved with a fluidity that confounded their enemies. Solari ships, glowing with bioluminescent patterns, relayed complex strategies immune to enemy jamming. Saurian cruisers, their hulls gleaming with mineral enhancements, absorbed punishment that would have destroyed lesser vessels. Other vessels, equipped with the latest quantum fold drives, blinked in and out of existence, striking at vulnerable points before vanishing again. The Luminae, true to their nature, bent light itself to create illusions that scattered enemy formations. At the heart of it all, the Humanity's Hope coordinated the complex dance of the Alliance fleet. Ilara watched as the battle unfolded, issuing commands and adapting strategies on the fly. "The Vrok are pushing hard on our left flank," Talon reported. "They're trying to isolate the Aryan ships." Ilara's mind raced. Signal the crystallines, have them create an energy barrier, and get the Earth destroyers to execute Maneuver Omega-3. Her orders were carried out with precision. A shimmering wall of energy sprang up, protecting the Aryan ships. Simultaneously, a group of Earth destroyers executed a series of rapid micro-jumps, appearing behind the Vrok forces and catching them in a devastating crossfire. But the Vrok were not so easily defeated. Their flagship, a monstrous construct of dark metal and pulsing energy weapons, began to push through the Alliance's lines, its main cannon charged, preparing to unleash devastation. "All ships, brace for impact," Ilara shouted. The Vrock flagship fired, its beam cutting through space with terrifying power. But at the last moment, a Lumini vessel interposed itself, bending the energy around it in a dazzling display of light manipulation. The beam scattered, its power dissipated. Seizing the moment, Ilara ordered a counterattack. Ships from across the Alliance converged on the Vrock flagship, each employing unique tactics. Saurian vessels unleashed clouds of mineral particles that clogged the flagship's weapon ports. Solari ships pulsed with blinding light, confusing its sensors. Earth vessels darted in close, their advanced point defense systems neutralizing the flagship's fighter screen. As the battle raged on, news came from other sectors. The diversionary attacks planned by the Alliance had succeeded, disrupting the Vrock's supply lines and communications. Cut off from reinforcements and coordination, pockets of the enemy fleet began to falter. Hours into the conflict, a turning point came. A combined strike force, led by Captain Reyes of the ECS Defiant, managed to breach the Vrock flagship's defenses. In a daring maneuver, they deployed a device developed by Dr. Potel and her multi-species team, a resonance bomb that targeted the unique energy signature of Vrock technology. The device detonated, and for a moment, it seemed as if nothing had happened. Then systems across the Vrock fleet began to fail. Shields flickered and died, weapons went offline, and engines sputtered to a halt. "Now," Ilara commanded, "all ships press the advantage." The Alliance fleet surged forward, their coordinated assault overwhelming the crippled Vrock forces. Ship after ship fell or surrendered. The Vrock's allies, seeing the tide turn, began to retreat or switch sides. As the last pockets of resistance were mopped up, a stunned silence fell over the battlefield. They had done it. Against all odds, the Alliance had emerged victorious. Ilara slumped in her command chair, exhaustion and relief washing over her. "Status report," she managed to say. Talon, his uniform singed but his eyes bright, responded, "We've won, Admiral. The Vrock fleet is destroyed or captured. Their allies are in full retreat. We've done it." As the news spread, cheers erupted across the Alliance fleet. Ships of all designs began to flash their running lights in celebration. On 1,000 worlds, beings looked to the skies and dared to hope for a brighter future. In the days that followed, the galaxy underwent a transformation. The galactic conclave, its old power structures shattered, was reformed. New voices were heard, new perspectives considered. Earth and its allies took center stage, their victory earning them respect and influence. A month after the battle, a ceremony was held on Novu Prime. Representatives from across the galaxy gathered to formalize the new alliance and chart a course for the future. Admiral Ilara Chen, hailed as the architect of victory, stood before the assembly. "We have won a great victory," she began, "but our work is far from over. We fought not just to defeat an enemy, but to build something new, a galactic society based on mutual respect, cooperation, and the celebration of our diversity." She gestured to the assembled beings, each unique in their biology and culture. "Look around you. This is the future we fought for, a galaxy where no species stands alone, where the strong protect the weak, where knowledge and resources are shared for the benefit of all." Ilara's voice swelled with passion. "We will face challenges. There will be those who resist change, who cling to old hatreds and fears. But we will meet those challenges together. We will explore the cosmos, unlock its secrets, and forge a civilization that spans the stars." As she concluded her speech, a new era dawned. The galaxy, for so long a place of conflict and oppression, began to transform. Trade routes opened between formerly isolated worlds. Cultural exchanges flourished. Scientific collaboration led to breakthroughs that benefited all. Earth, once a backwater world barely noticed by the galactic community, now stood as a beacon of hope and progress. Humans, with their adaptability, creativity, and indomitable spirit, found themselves welcomed across the stars. And yet, as Elara looked out at the vast expanse of the cosmos, she knew that this was just the beginning. New frontiers awaited, new challenges to overcome. But now they would face those challenges not as isolated species, but as a united galaxy. The dawn of a new age had truly begun, sparked by human compassion and forged in the fires of adversity. The stars, once cold and distant, now beckoned with the promise of a shared destiny. As ships of 1,000 designs soared past the viewport, their lights twinkling like earthbound stars, Elara smiled. The galaxy was vast and full of wonders, and humanity had found its place among them. Together with their new allies, they would write the next chapter in the grand cosmic story. The future, bright with possibility, awaited.